When it comes to ending poverty, it's not a matter of money. That's according to BYU business professor Paul Godfrey, who has just published his ideas on how to make the world better in the book, More Than Money. And Paul is with us this morning. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
A lot of people think you just have to have money to deal with money issues. You say maybe not as much as you might think.
Well, you're absolutely right. When we look at poor people, the thing that we see the most is, wow, they don't have money. They don't have resources. And the belief that we fall into is if they just had resources, they wouldn't be poor anymore. They'd be able to get themselves out.
Right.
And actually what experience teaches us is money is the last thing people need. If they can put together different types of capital, they need capital for sure, but if they can put together 5 different types of capital, of which the last one includes money, they can work themselves out of poverty.
We'll talk about those 5 in a moment. As you did your research for this book, what were the key components you went looking for?
Well, what I went looking for was how do people who live in poverty actually experience their lives? So what I didn't do was do surveys or look at World Bank data. What I did was got on airplanes. And I went over to Accra, Ghana, and I walked the streets to try to find people who were selling T-shirts on the sidewalk, who were selling bananas in the marketplace, and talked to them. And I sent a research assistant over to do in-depth interviews with these people in their conditions.
So you came up with concepts of big P and little p
right.
in this book. What does that mean?
Well, so one day when I was working on the book, I was sitting in Accra, Ghana, and I realized that what I was writing about was a very different kind of poverty than development economists and most politicians think about poverty. They think about big P poverty, these systemic level issues, an education system, a healthcare system, a finance system, a legal system. And over a half century's worth of foreign aid has proven that those things are really, really hard to change. What I was focused on when I looked out my hotel room was the people on the street, the individuals and families, little p poverty, people actually living with low incomes, living with poor housing. And what I realized is it's possible, even though we may not be able to solve all the big problems of society, we may be able to actually help individuals and families move from poverty to prosperity.
There's a focus on self-reliance. Now let's go back to those 5 keys of capital which you highlight: institutional, social, human, organizational, and physical capital. Why is it so hard for people without to get access to this kind of capital?
Well, the reality is everybody has some stock to begin with. Take social capital, for example. Everybody has a family. Everybody has acquaintances that they know. The question about social capital is what kind of resources are available to me through those friends, through those members of my family. What's difficult for some people in poverty, and I found this on the Navajo Nation, is that your friends and family are in the same situation that you are. So one of the ways that you have to develop social capital is find new groups of people. So you go to a school and you make new friends, or you attend a church that gives you access to different people who have a different set of resources. So it would be a misnomer to believe, oh, people who live in poverty don't have any social capital.
Right.
They just don't have the same kind of networks that you and I have. And part of helping them out of poverty is teaching them how to develop those kind of networks.
All right, lastly, a lot of folks want to get involved and help other people out, but they're not quite sure which organizations to go to or where to go help out. What do they learn in your book as to what they can do about that?
Well, what they'll look for are 3 things. Number 1, organizations with strong missions, a clear sense of what they do and what they don't do. So organizations don't try to solve all people's problems, they focus on 1 or 2. Number 2, good organizations work with others. So the LDS Church is a great example. They partner with other organizations. They don't try to do everything themselves. And number 3, they've got clear measures. So they can tell you, here are the steps that people are taking to get out of poverty, and we can actually show you measurable results about what those people are doing.
Sounds like a great read, Paul. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
That book again is called More Than Money: 5 Forms of Capital to Create Wealth and Eliminate Poverty. You can find it on Amazon.com.